Good day, everyone. We are the presenter number three, and our topic is about asset approach. But before we discuss with you the asset approach, allow me to give you an introduction about valuation and its different approaches. Now let's proceed with the definition of valuation. Valuation is the process of determining the economic value or the estimated worth of a business at a specific point in time. So sa madaling salita, si valuation ay proseso ng pag-alam kung magkano ba talaga ang halaga ng isang negosyo. Pero hindi ito simpleng paghuhula lang because the value of the business is determined carefully by analyzing different factors such as ang assets nito, liabilities, earnings, financial performance, and even si market conditions. And because of this, mas nagiging accurate at reasonable ang estimated value ng business. So now, ang tanong is, bakit ba mahalaga si valuation? So valuation is important because it helps owners, investors, and even si creditors make better decision. So halimbawa na lang ito is, kung gusto ng owner na ibenta ang kanyang negosyo, kailangan muna niyang malaman ang tamang value nito para maging fair ang selling price. And ganito rin kapag may gustong bumili or mag-invest sa isang company. They need to know if the business is really worth the amount being asked. And aside from buying and selling businesses, ginagamit din natin si valuation sa mergers and acquisitions, kung saan pinagsasama-sama or binibili ng isang company ang isa pang company. And it is also used for financial reporting, taxation, legal disputes, estate planning, and many other business situations. Kaya masasabi natin na si valuation is an important tool because it provides reliable information that supports sound business decision. And there are three main approaches used in valuation. So first, we have the asset approach, which determines the business value by looking at the value of the company's asset after deducting its liabilities. And the second one is we have the income approach, which focuses on the future earnings of or cash flows that the business is expected to generate. So ang idea nito is mas valuable ang business kung mas malaki ang kaya nitong kitain in the future. And the third one and the last one is we have the market approach, where the value of a business is estimated by comparing it with similar businesses that have recently been sold or are currently operating in the market. So, sinabi ko nga kanina na sa discussion namin na to, we will only focus on the asset approach since yun naman yung topic na assigned
As
sa
we've
amin.
already discussed the definition of devaluation in the previous slide, let's now focus with the asset approach. So the asset approach is one of the three major approaches used in valuation. And as the name suggests, this approach focuses mainly on the assets and liabilities of a business. And instead of estimating how much profit the business can earn in the future, it looks at what the business currently owns and what it currently owes. So the definition of asset approach is very straightforward. It is a valuation method that determines the value of a business by calculating the fair value of all its assets and then subtracting the fair value of all its liabilities. And I know that we are very familiar with the definition of the asset and liabilities, but allow me to define it with you. So the asset are all of the resources owned by the business that have value. So examples include cash, inventory, land, buildings, equipments, vehicles, and even investment. So ang mga ito is ginagamit ng business para kumita at mag-operate. On the other hand is we have liabilities, which are obligations or debts of the company or business. So kasama na rito ang loans, accounts payables, salaries payables, taxes payables, at iba pang kailangan bayaran ng company. And now let's proceed with the basic principle of the asset approach. So the basic principle of asset approach is very simple. Kung ibebenta natin lahat ng assets ng business sa kanilang current fair value at babayaran naman natin lahat ng liabilities, ang matitirang amount ay ang ating magiging estimated value ng business. So as you can see here in the PowerPoint presentation, we have the formula for the business value. So allow me to just discuss this formula because the other reporter will be discussing the illustrations or the problem for this formula.
So the formula for business value is equal to fair value of the assets minus the fair value of the liabilities. So notice that the formula uses fair value and not book value, because the fair value means the current market value of an asset or the price that willing buyers or sellers would agree on. So, mas realistic ito kaysa sa historical cost na ginagamit sa ating accounting records. So, in short, the asset approach tells us the value of the business based on its net asset, not on its future earnings. At dahil na-discuss na natin sa previous slide kung ano nga ba si asset approach, now the next question is, when should this approach be used? So, the asset approach is commonly used for businesses that have a large amount of valuable assets. So, ang mga halimbawa nito ay ang mga manufacturing companies, real estate companies, construction companies, at investment companies. Kasi sa mga ganitong business, malaking bahagi ng kanilang value ay nanggagaling sa kanilang physical assets tulad ng land, building, machinery, at equipments. And it is also used when the business has unstable or uncertain earnings. Kasi kung pabago-bago ang income ng company, mahirap naman gamitin si income approach dahil mahirap ding i-predict ang future cash flows. Kaya mas reliable na gamitin ang value ng existing asset. And another situation naman is during liquidation or bankruptcy, na kapag magsasara na ang negosyo, ang mas mahalagang malaman ay kung magkano ba ang makukuha sa pagbibenta ng assets pagkatapos babayaran lahat ng mga utang. So the asset approach is useful for holding companies and investment companies because most of their value comes from the asset they own rather than the income they generate. So overall, the asset approach is most appropriate when the company's asset represents most of its values. Although asset approach is useful in many situations, hindi ito ang pinakamahusay na valuation method para sa lahat ng businesses. For example, service companies such as consulting firms, accounting firms, and law firms often earn value because of their employees' skills and expertise, while technology companies and well-known brands also gain value from innovations, customer loyalty, and reputations. So, ang mga ito ay tinatawag nating intangibles asset at kadalasan ay hindi madaling masukat gamit si asset approach. At dahil dito, maaaring hindi nito maipakita ang tunay na value ng business. So now let's proceed with the characteristics of asset approach. And one of the characteristic of asset approach is that it focuses on the company's assets and liabilities rather than the future profits. Another one is that it uses fair value whenever possible. And this provides a more realistic estimate because assets are measured based on their current value instead of their original purchase price. So the asset approach is also considered more objective because it is based on the assets that can usually be identified and measured. However, one limitation is that it may not fully capture the value of goodwill, brand reputation, or future earning potential. So while asset approach is reliable for asset-rich businesses, it may not be the best choice for businesses whose value depends mostly on intangible assets. Next, under the asset approach, there are three commonly used methods. And although they all belong to the same approach, they differ on how they measure the value of assets. So the first one is we have the book value method. And this method uses the amounts recorded in the company's financial statements. And since it is based on the accounting records, it is the easiest and the quickest method to compute. And the second one is we have the adjusted net asset method. So in this method, instead of simply using the book values, this method adjusts all the assets and liabilities to their current fair market values. And because of these adjustments, it usually provides a more accurate estimate of the business value. And the third one is we have the liquidation value method. And this method estimates how much money the business can receive if it sells all of its assets and uses the proceeds to pay off all of its liabilities. and this method is usually applied when a business is closing or facing financial distress. So, each method has its own purpose, kaya mahalaga na piliin natin ang tamang method depende sa objective ng valuation at sa current situation ng
Ngayon,
ating business.
i-discuss na natin ang unang method under kay asset approach, which is si book value method. So, si book value method is ang pinakasimpleng method under kay asset approach kasi dito, ginagamit natin yung values na already recorded na sa ating company's balance sheet. So, as you can see here sa PowerPoint presentation, meron tayong formula para makuha natin si book value, which is book value equals to the total assets minus the total liabilities. So, magbibigay ako ng example dito. So, halimbawa is, si company, meron siyang total assets worth 20 million and meron naman siyang total liabilities worth 8 million. So, kung gagamitin natin si book value formula here na presented sa ating PowerPoint presentation, so kung meron tayong 20 million na total assets and meron naman tayong total liabilities na 8 million, so ibabawas natin yung 8 million sa 20 million na total assets. So that will give us the book value of the business amounting to 12 million. So dito, masasabi natin na one of the advantage of the book value method is that it is easy to calculate kasi lahat ng information na kailangan natin is available na sa ating financial statements. So, hindi na natin kailangan ng appraisal or market valuation. Pero, meron namang limitation si book value method. Kasi since si accounting records are usually based pa sa historical cost, so pwedeng yung recorded values is does no longer reflect the current market value ng assets. So, halimbawa nito or another halimbawa naman is bumili tayo ng land 20 years ago na maaaring yung value ng land na yon ngayon is meron ng significantly increase sa kanyang value. So, pero yung recorded amount sa ating accounting record may still be close to its original cost. So, dahil doon, si book value method may either underestimate or overestimate si actual value ng ating business. Let's proceed with the second method under the asset approach, which is the adjusted net asset method, na kung saan mas kino-consider na accurate ito kumpara kay book value method. So, bakit? Kasi dito kay adjusted net asset method, ang ginagawa is ina-adjust muna natin lahat ng value ni assets at liabilities to their current fair market value bago natin kino-compute si business value. So, as you can see here sa PowerPoint presentation, ang kanyang formula is the same or almost similar kay book value method, pero ang kaibahan lang nila is kumpara kay book value method na ang ginagamit natin is book value, kay dito naman kay adjusted net asset method, ang ginagamit natin is fair value ni assets and ni liabilities. So, kung gagamitin natin itong formula na to, so magbibigay ako ng example. So, halimbawa is, kung ang building ay naka-record sa book na 5 million, pero ang current market value nito is 8 million, then under this method, yung 8 million na current market value ang gagamitin natin sa computation. So, ganun yun. So, with the adjusted net asset method, it reflects the current market condition and gives a more realistic estimate about the business value. Pero ang isang disadvantage naman nito is it requires a professional appraisal and market research as compared to book value method kanina na 'di ba sinabi na hindi. Kaya mas matagal at mas mahal ang process ni adjusted net asset method as compared to book value method. But despite that, many valuation professionals prefer the adjusted net asset method kasi it reflects the true economic value of the company's assets. At ang panghuli sa tatlong method under kay asset approach is we have the liquidation value method. And this approach estimates the value of a business if it stops operating, sells all of its assets, and pays all of its liabilities. And under the liquidation value method, meron siyang dalawang types. So, the first one is the orderly liquidation,
And the second one is the forced liquidation. So, ang una nating i-discuss is si orderly liquidation. So, si orderly liquidation is applicable siya sa mga sitwasyon kung saan may sapat na oras ang business para ibenta ang mga assets nito. And dito, since hindi minamadali ang selling process, mas mataas ang chance na makakuha or makuha ang fair market price ng assets. And the second one is we have the forced liquidation, which is kabaliktaran naman ni orderly liquidation. Dahil dito, kailangang maibenta agad ang assets. And usually, nangyayari ito kapag mayroong bankruptcy, foreclosure, or even severe financial problems. So dito, dahil sa forced liquidation, urgent ang pagbibenta, kadalasan ay mas mababa ang selling price ng asset. So as you can see here in the PowerPoint presentation, meron tayong formula for liquidation value, which is liquidation value is equal to the estimated selling price of assets minus the liabilities minus the selling cost. So the liquidation value method is commonly ginagamit siya ng mga lenders, creditors, and even courts para ma-estimate kung magkano lang ba ang pera na mare-recover if si business is nag-close na. So that will be all for my part. So Miss Potri Timbang will continue with the discussion. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Putrima Amor Timbang, the second reporter, and I will discuss the application of the asset approach in business valuation. So before we go into the process, let's first understand when the asset approach is most appropriate to use. So first, this approach is ideal for asset-heavy enterprises. These are businesses whose value mainly comes from their physical asset rather than their income. Examples include real estate companies, mining firms, manufacturing businesses, and investment holding companies. Since they own valuable asset, it's more practical to value those assets directly. Second, ginagamit din ito during liquidation or orderly wind down. Kapag ang company ay magsasara na at ibebenta na ang lahat ng asset, the asset approach helps determine the minimum amount that can still be recovered from selling those assets. So third is suitable din ito for early stage or non-operating businesses. So kung ang company ay bago pa lang or wala pang stable income, mahirap gamitin ang income-based valuation. Kaya mas reliable na tingnan mo na ang value ng kanilang assets. Lastly, ginagamit din ito sa mergers and acquisitions. So it provides a valuation floor or minimum value of the business. So in other words, ito ang pinakamababang halaga na dapat tanggapin ng shareholders kapag ibebenta ang company. Now, let's move on to the steps in applying the asset approach. So the first step is to identify all assets and liabilities of the business. So hindi lang yung nasa financial statement ang tinitingnan, but also asset or obligation that may not have been recorded. The second step is to determine the fair value of each asset and liability. So this means adjusting their values based on their current market condition instead of simply using book values. The third step is to identify hidden assets and hidden liabilities. Minsan may assets na hindi naka-record pero may value pa rin, while some liabilities may also be missing from the books. Finally, after making all adjustment, we calculate the net asset value, which is simply the fair value of total assets minus the fair value of total liabilities. So ito na ang estimated value ng company under the asset approach. Let's now discuss the valuation of tangible assets. So ang tangible asset are physical assets that we can actually see and touch. We start with current asset. For cash and cash equivalents, the valuation is very simple. Since yung cash already represent its value, it is recorded at its face value. For accounts receivable naman, hindi lahat ng receivable ay makokolekta. So that's why we deduct estimated bad debts or uncollectible accounts to arrive at a more realistic value. Next is inventory. Instead of relying only on the accounting cost under FIFO or LIFO, inventory is adjusted to its net realizable value or replacement cost if necessary. Ginagawa ito para makita kung paano kung magkano talaga ang halaga ng inventory ngayon. For property, plant, and equipment, real estate is usually valued through independent appraisal based on current market prices. Meanwhile, ang machinery and equipment are commonly valued using the replacement cost new less depreciation method. So this estimates how much it would cost to replace the asset today while considering wear and tear and technology changes. So aside from physical assets, companies also have intangible assets which are non-physical but still valuable. Example dito is patents, trademarks, software, customer lists, contracts, and regulatory licenses. So one important thing to remember is that some intangible assets may not appear on the balance sheet but they still contribute significantly to the company's value. So there are different valuation method used. The first is relief from royalty method. This estimates how much the company saves because it owns the intellectual property instead of paying royalties to someone else. The second is excess earnings method. So this method isolates the additional earnings generated specifically by intangible asset after considering the normal return from tangible assets. So kahit hindi natin nakikita ang mga asset na to, they can significantly increase the total value of a business. Next, let's discuss the valuation of liability. So for short-term liabilities such as accounts payable and accrued salaries, they are usually accepted at book value because they will be settled soon. However, ang long-term debts like mortgages and bonds required adjustment. So since market interest rate changes over time, these obligations are revalued using their present value. So another important consideration is contingent liability. So these are possible obligations such as pending lawsuits or warranty claims. So kapag probable na mangyayari at kayang i-estimate yung amount, they should already be recognized. Lastly, companies also consider deferred income taxes, especially when asset values are adjusted to fair value. So these tax effects also influence the final business valuation. After identifying assets and liabilities, the next step is making fair value adjustments. So the reason for this is simple. Book values are based on historical costs while fair values represents today fair market value. For example, accounts receivable are adjusted by deducting doubtful accounts. Inventory is adjusted to NRV, especially if some items are obsolete. Land and buildings are usually increased to reflect current market appraisal. Machinery is adjusted based on replacement cost while considering its remaining useful life. Lastly is long-term loans are adjusted to present value if their interest rate differs from the current market rate. So these are adjustment that the business valuation reflects the company's actual economic value. Now let's look at hidden assets. So these are valuable assets that may not appear in the accounting records but still add value on the company. One example is favorable contracts. If a company has a long-term agreements with prices much lower than current market, those contracts already have economic value. Another example is fully depreciated assets. So kahit zero na ang book value ng isang machine, kung ginagamit pa rin ito at nakaka-help pa siya sa operations, may value pa rin ito. And next is companies may have unrecorded intangible assets such as internally developed software, customer database, trade secrets, or proprietary processes. So these hidden assets should be identified because they can significantly increase the final valuation. Just as there are hidden assets, there are also hidden liabilities. So one example is environmental cleanup costs. So some businesses may be required to restore land or dispose of hazardous waste in the future. Another example is pending litigation. Kung may ongoing lawsuit ang company, possible ito na magre-resulta sa malaking cash outflow. Lastly, there are tax exposures such as unpaid taxes, pension obligation, or warranty commitments that have not been recorded or recognized yet. So, kapag hindi na isama ito sa mga liabilities, the company's value may be overstated. Let's now discuss the advantages of the asset approach. The first advantage is high verifiability. So, since the valuation is based on the actual asset and independent appraisal, the results are more objective and easier to verify. The second advantage is that it provides a reliable valuation floor. So this means investors already know the minimum value of the company based on its assets. So even if earnings are low, because of these advantages, the asset approach is considered reliable for companies whose assets contribute more value than their future income. Of course, this approach also have limitation. First, it ignores future earning capacity. So the asset approach focuses mainly on asset and liability, so it doesn't consider future profits, employee expertise, customer loyalty, or business reputation. So as a result, fast-growing businesses, especially technology companies, may be undervalued. So another limitation is that it is expensive and time-consuming. Companies often need professional appraisers for real estate, machinery, and intellectual property, which increases both the cost and the time needed to complete the valuation. Now, let's apply everything that we discussed through this sample problem. So, the problem gives us the statement of financial position of Swift and Styles Corporation. So, the company has current asset na 500 million, non-current asset na 1 billion, current liabilities na 200 million, the non-current liabilities 700 million, and outstanding shares na 1 million shares. So the first question is what is NBV or net book value? So before solving, let's first understand what the question is asking. So, ang NBV or net book value represents the amount that belongs to the shareholders after all liabilities have been deducted from total asset. So, in simple words, if the company sells all of its asset and pay all of its debt, the remaining amounts belongs to the shareholders. So, to express this value fairly among shareholders, we divide it by the total number of outstanding shares. So, the second question is different kasi it states that 80% of non-current asset can only be reproduced at 90% of their original book value. So, ano bang meaning nun? So, it means that the most of the company's long-term assets such as building, machinery, or equipment are now worth only 90% of their recorded value if they were to be reproduced today. So, however, the remaining 20% consists of goodwill. And according to the problem, goodwill was tested and found to already be correctly valued. So, therefore, wala na tayong adjustment na gagawin sa goodwill. So, the question then asks us to determine the reproduction value per share after considering this adjustment. So, basically, the first problem uses the book values when the second problem require us to adjust the non-current asset before computing the company value. Now, isolve na natin. So, first question, net book value per share. So, the first thing we do is to compute the company total asset. So, add natin yung 500 million na current asset, pati non-current asset na 1 billion. Then, ang total asset is 100.5 billion. Now, we compute the total liabilities na current is 200 million, then 700 million yung non-current. So, total liabilities is 900 million. Then, let's deduct the total asset sa total liabilities, which is 100.5 billion minus 900 million equals to 600 million. This means that after all paying all obligation, the company has 600 million remaining for its shareholders. But the question asks for the value per share, so we divide this amount by the 100 million outstanding shares. So 600 million, i-divide mo sa 1 million shares, then may 600 pesos per share. So therefore, the correct answer is 600 per share. Then sa second question naman is reproduction value. Then sabi ng problem is 80% of the 100 billion of non-current asset are worth only 90% of their book value. Now, i-compute natin ang yung 80%. So, 80% times mo sa 100 billion, so we have 800 million. Now, since the asset are now worth only 90%, imumultiply natin yung 800 million sa 90%, so we have 720 million. This means that the adjusted value of those assets decreases from 800 million to 700 million, resulting in an 80 million reduction. So this, the remaining 20% of non-current asset is goodwill. So ang goodwill is 100 billion, ita-times sa 20%, so 200 million. Pero according sa problem, goodwill is already correctly valued, so we leave it unchanged. Now, i-compute natin ang yung adjusted non-current asset na 720 million plus 200 million. So we have 920 million. Then, ang current asset remain 500 million. Then, ang adjusted non-current asset become 920 million. Therefore, ang adjusted total asset natin is 1.42 billion. So, ang liabilities remain the same, 900 million. Then, i-compute natin muna yung adjusted equity, which is 1.42 billion minus 900 million, which is 520 million. Then, i-divide natin siya sa 100 million outstanding share. Then, 520 million, divide mo sa 100 million shares. Then, we have 520 per share. So, the reproduction value per share is 520 pesos, which matches the correct answer in the presentation.